Boom! Welcome everybody. I'm just going to do a quick sound check. Mic check. All is good. If I have any issues, please let me know. And welcome. I'm Vaughan. It is fantastic to have you here. Wow! Last month was crazy for me. I broke my toe, okay? Not helpful if you're a dancer. I got sick as last week, so thank you for the reschedule. You know I don't like to do that. It was the first one this year. And I had my 40th birthday party. Some mortality, people, mortality. And I was sick over it. So I was like, this has been a wild week. So I'm just on the tail end feeling better, but I'm here and I want to make sure that we have a good time. And it brought a few things to mind, but before we get any further, I just want to make sure that you always have your email subscription turned on within your membership. It's very important so you don't miss time-sensitive emails that I'll send to you, okay? It's very important as part of your membership so you don't miss communication and you get the full value out of everything. But also make sure to keep going back through the content, the library, and the resources to develop your knowledge and to keep building your skills as a dancer, okay? I can't tell you how many times I go back to my technique books and I go things just to get that little extra. It really helps over the long term, okay? So we're in this together. We're in this as a group and a community, and I'm very grateful that you're here. And I'd also like to welcome, it's been a fair few new members coming in last month as well, but shout out to Kelly Maddox from the USA and John from New Zealand. Thank you for being here. It's wonderful to have you as part of the membership. I have a question for you, okay? The question is it important to experience more positive thought, like to have more positive thoughts in your mind, or to experience less negative thoughts? What do you think? I'll give you a moment to have a think about that. More positive thoughts or less negative thoughts? So there's a book by, what's his name? The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale from back in the 70s. Very famous book. I think he was a pastor or a church leader. Anyway, so it's an okay book. I never really got into that. Like I'm big into personal development. I've worked for some of the biggest names in the personal development industry. And I sort of started that journey around the same time I started dancing when I was 18, 19. Okay, so I've gone through and seen quite a lot in the back end of some of these companies. And yeah, they're all human. So it doesn't matter how perfect someone looks out there in the YouTube space or, you know, the big leaders out there doing these massive personal development seminars. They're all human, right? They all make mistakes. And one of the things I think is perpetuated a lot is this idea of trying to be overwhelmingly positive about things, right? And so it turns out that an expert I was listening to talk about this from their research was saying that it is more important to experience less negative thoughts. So keep the positive thoughts going, right? That's important. But actually do your best to experience less negative thoughts. Now what does that really mean? Because this is important for us as dancers. It's very important. I think one of the reasons people quit in dancing, besides just losing interest, which is fair enough, but if you're here, you haven't lost interest. You belong to the crazy wild group of dance nerds like me who really actually enjoy dancing and want to improve at their own rate, want to get better, right? So if you're part of a membership like this, you're not in that group that just gives up easily, and you will have internal battles, okay? And this is what I wanted to address before we get into the Q&A. So the less negative thoughts is the thing I was thinking about today. In the shower, of course, of all places, the shower is where you do the best thinking, right? And I was like, what does that actually mean to experience less negative thoughts? Because doesn't that mean to have more positive thoughts, okay? And I want you to take that away for yourself. What does it mean for you? Because to me, it means the degree of the negativity associated to the thought you're having. So for example, in dancing, if you're making a mistake, something I've seen very common through many dancers is they will make a mistake, they'll beat themselves up about the mistake, try to go into execute the movement again or the routine again, but it will be worse because they've already primed themselves or set themselves up for a bad approach to the movement due to the very negative thoughts they have about themselves about that step. So for example, very simply, they'll say like, I'm a horrible dancer, all right? Or I'm a shit dancer, okay? And I always laugh and say, you're not shit, it's just your technique. It's great, right? It's light. You see what I'm saying? So that to me is removing it, making it less negative. Because I've always had this problem with this positive thinking business because I experienced when I had that, I felt very bad because I couldn't live up to the positive thoughts that I was trying to create for myself about everything. I was constantly trying to make everything so positive but I felt like I was drinking the Kool-Aid, right, in the wrong way, because it didn't match up with reality. Now, being cynical is different, right? Skepticism's fine. All that sort of stuff is okay. But I felt like I was bullshitting myself, okay? So just notice when you're on the floor, when you're dancing, as you're going to improve, notice your internal dialogue and aim to just be less negative with yourself. I think it's important to have like a healthy dose of reality. If you're not doing well, you're not doing well. Now, if we're talking about competition here, which a lot of you do, your results are important to look at, but they only reflect a moment in time. They don't reflect actual potential and where you can go. That is critical to understand. I'll say it again. Your results reflect a moment in time, not your potential and where you can go. School completely fucks us on this one because school grades are like what the student gets in their brain, and then they think, okay, I failed that course, like I'm an E grade or an F grade student, therefore that's what I am. It's like, no, that's just like a moment in time. And there's various reasons for that, right? So we won't get into the weeds on this, but the idea is very simple. A medal grade, a competition standing, or a result does not indicate your actual potentiality, okay? And there is a ceiling with potential with dancing, like age, physicality, partner, lack of partner. You see, those things actually do like ceiling your skill, and that is important to understand, but it doesn't mean your experience should be bad with dancing. It doesn't mean you can't improve, right? So, and location too, right? And whether you do competition. So all these things actually matter when it comes to like the evolution of your own dancing as a competitor. But you as your own person, just keep that in mind. Less negative is going to actually help you feel more positive about yourself. And that is a really cool thing to do. But don't take my words for it. I want you to think of it for yourself. Please write the comments in the window, and I'd like you to go away and use that little nugget of information for your dancing this month as you're applying some of the information I'm about to share with you, okay? So, boom, where are we? I'm just clicking and dancing, baby, clicking and dancing. Let's go. I want to show you something. Look at this. Look at this cup. So my daughter, who is amazing, I love her, she's amazing. So she's a cute little girl, and she bought something for me for Father's Day with some money at school. And she's like, I know you love coffee, Dad. I was like, what gave you that idea? And we have this like joke about it all the time. And she was like, yeah, I got this cup and it's black, but until you put coffee in it, it doesn't light up with this stuff. And I'm like, nice. She was so excited, man. Nothing better than, remember that innocence you had when you were like 6 and you're like, yeah, or 7 or 3, and you're just like, the world is just, I don't know, more positive than negative, I suppose. Anyway, I thought it was very cool. So if I drink from a very nerdy cup, it was my daughter's fault. Okay. Rumba. So, Thara, oh my God. New Zealand in the house. I thought the whole continent went to sleep. It's been a while since I've heard from you guys. Hope you're well. But thank you for writing in. I really appreciate it because like Dave, you're up on here. You get like a sticker, dude, for being here on every live. You're amazing. So this is great. Thank you. And you've been with me for years. So I love this. Thara, hi Vaughan, could you please explain how to do a back swivel in the rumba, including guidance for both beginners and advanced dancers, as well as the man's lead? I love that. Yeah, what you doing, Peter? What are you doing to it? I searched through Ballroom Mastery Access, but couldn't find information there. Thank you. Although I haven't been able to attend your live sessions, we're still using your training videos wherever possible, and they've been incredibly helpful to us, so thank you for the great sessions. Now, you see, and that's the thing, like, I do get a little concerned sometimes when people drop off on the Q&As, mainly because I know that that can sometimes mean that they're phasing out or they're switching their interest, and that's okay. That, like, I've done that with courses, but if you're still using the content in the back end, that to me is the key, because I spent ages building all those videos as a library so you can do that. That is the whole thing that it's there for, and this is like a supplement to that as well. Okay, look, I'm gonna answer this real quickly. The back swivel in rumba isn't actually a basic figure, so I'm not gonna treat it for beginners and advanced, because that step is actually an advanced figure. And it's called a backward swivel basic. That's actually the name. Now in Ballroom Mastery Academy, Ballroom Mastery Access, Ballroom Mastery Academy, Ballroom Mastery Academy Next Level, they're to do with like the skills of dancing overall, right? All the things you want to load, different components, okay? And then Dance at Home is all the syllabus steps for ballroom and Latin dancing based on the Imperial Society Teachers of Dance, the ISTD. Now, with all that information, okay, that's there's probably like, say, 30 steps in the waltz, 28 in foxtrot, etc., etc. So not every single step in the ballroom dancing world is there. Variations of steps. I mean, I would never stop making videos, and then it blends into too much content and goes the wrong way. There are advanced steps that I have not covered. So there's a whole plethora of Latin dancing and ballroom dancing steps that I haven't covered. Another, say, 10 to 20 figures within each dance. Okay, so if you think about that, there's another like 10 to 20 rumba steps that I haven't touched. And part of the reason is because you have to be an advanced dancer to execute those steps. Not that you couldn't learn them. You can learn any step in 10 minutes. Any step you can teach yourself in 10 minutes from those videos, right? Now, dancing it is a whole nother beast. And I used to think that's not really true. Like, let's test it. So over years of testing with students, the backward swivel basic is a really hard step to do. I have girls that have danced with me for 10 years doing medals, they're high level gold, they're doing some pro-am. They struggle with a step like this. So I'm not saying don't do it, but it's also my market. I'm not working with the advanced dancers because the majority of people that are on YouTube, the majority of people that actually come in that are enthusiastic are actually beginners. The hardest people to teach are often the ones that are like quite up there, right? Because they've got their coach, they're very set in their training schedule, and then they only attend workshops in a very small circle, right? So I never serve that market. I serve the people like you and me who actually want to expand their knowledge base or want to become teachers, right? So I actually operate in a different space in that regard. Now, it doesn't mean in the future I won't make something like this, but to do it would require actually a lot more effort than some of the other stuff I've made before. Now, I'm gonna still teach it, so please bring me your questions like this. I've got the information and I teach it, and I use these steps myself within my own choreography all the time. If you watch my demonstration videos, you'll see lots of advanced steps in there, okay, that may not be in Dance at Home. So, all right, I think this cup is giving me a lot of power right now. So if we can hit up the main camera. So the back swivel basics, just now, this is what the step is based on what you said anyway. So if we look at starting this as a lady, all right, we'll do a preparation step on the left foot. So you're gonna step back on 4 and then 1. Then step back on the right foot as a normal walk. This is important. This is the setup and where most people I've seen who do this fail because they don't finish and complete this walk. So just lift that left foot off the ground, get the weight here. Okay, once you hit this point, your swivel is all on that right foot and then you reach back. Okay, so you do half a turn on the tip of that toe, then you replace the weight onto the left foot and create a spiral cross and then walk forward. Okay, that's the back swivel basic. Now, there may be some variations of it, but that's literally as the technique book refers to the step, okay? So, if I do that again, I'm going back in terms of timing. So there's 4, 1, then back on the right foot, 2, and I turn on the end of 2, then back on 3 for the spiral cross and step forward on 4, 1. Okay, we'll do it this way just for fun, and I'll give you a couple of tips here, right, on how to balance and not die. All right, so we go. So there's your 4, and then transfer on the 1, then back on the 2, turn, there, and then 3, and then forward on 4. Do you like my fancy lady arm? Getting all that feel, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so where is the hardest part for this? It's literally on that swivel. Now this is where Peter's gonna have to understand how to do something called arresting the lady's movement, okay? Because the lady can't do that turn until he actually does that. So what's the other step that's similar? There's a few actually where the man's hand has to rotate to create the lead and the lady can't move before that. So a few of the problems I've noticed. So this is your step, Peter. You're gonna go forward on your right foot. So 4, 1, and now there's your left arm. Go 2 and turn, rotate the hand. So 2 and turn it. Then rock back on 3 and then step on 4, 1. Okay? That's it there. So just easy for you. It's like a basic movement basically. But where's the hand? So we're there. Which we turn, yeah, so you gotta rotate it. Boom, you gotta rotate it outwards. Anti-clockwise, I think that would be. So that there happens on 2 at the end of the count. Giving Thara enough time to have the balance. Now, like I said, where is the challenging point? It's actually going to be, so if I actually will go this way, it's probably a bit easier. So this is 4, 1, then step on 2. Now notice my right foot is turned out. So that's my normal back walk. The right foot creates a turn because of the use of my shoulders and my hip. Now watch my head, it's very important, it stays up there. So I'm keeping my line, center line over that right foot. So I created half a turn, but my weight is still over the ball of my right foot. Now the left hand, stretch it up and keep it sort of forward, right? So like that to counterbalance. Oh, look, there's a little hole in there. There's been a moth up in my closet. What's going on? Anyway, all right, now from here, we'll just say it's like an edgy t-shirt, right? Okay, so now once you get that position, right, and your hand's back here being twisted by Peter, he actually has to stop you here. This is where you should feel a bit of tension. He stops you at that point. Then he has to help lead you back onto the left foot to create your spiral cross, and then you can go forward. Normally from there, you do like a hip twist to get into fan, right? I don't know what your choreography is, okay? So focus on being on that right foot and turning. Now notice I could do that on my own. So what I encourage the girls when I teach them to do this is that the man ain't gonna help you. Now I think men are awesome, but a man is not a plan with this step, right? So he can't balance you. He has to help you with like the arresting, so turning and like sort of holding, in spot, but he can't support you. So what you should practice is standing on your right leg, and then of course making sure your weight, so my head to my ball of foot is there. So now I'm gonna turn on this right foot, bring the foot in, create a turn on the right foot, and then stretch the leg back. You see that? Try going back the other way and doing that again. Boom, boom. And you'll notice you'll use different parts of your body that might help you or may completely ruin you, right? Okay, that's the way to do it. Practice that again and again and again, and eventually you'll get it. Now, the hard thing is in the timing of that, because it's too, and then you come out of it. It's very, very fast. But I have an extraordinary amount of faith in you. So do that, send me the video. And remember, with things like that are advanced, because I don't know your steps, and your coach might call a step a certain thing, and then I think, well, that's this step. We might get a bit of confusion. You might be like, Vaughan, that's not even the step I'm doing. Send me your videos. Always way easier for me to understand. Okay. This one's a good one. So Kevin, what's up from the UK? Hi Vaughan, how can you learn to relax when dancing so that you're able to isolate each part of the body and not look stiff? I notice this particularly in the Latin dances, but also in the ballroom when trying to keep the upper body firm, but not rigid and letting the legs do the work. My man, it's a fantastic question, and it's a deep question. So I'm approach this from a few angles to help, because there's a multitude of reasons why we get tension as dancers across the board, and it does not matter your level of dancing. The best dancers in the world, from ballet to contemporary to ballroom dancing, have to deal with tension, right? All of us. Tension tires. It completely ruins the quality of your dancing, and I'm telling you, all dancers have to deal with this. It doesn't go away. So we need to understand strategies, but to me, it's always about awareness. One of the key things in dancing, in education of dancing too, the education of anything, is awareness, is understanding. Why do you get tension to begin with? That's the first point. Because it's going to happen in different areas of your dancing for different reasons. So for example, you might have a specific step in the waltz, like a whisk and a chasse, and you always get tension in your shoulders. But then you might not have that in the next step, like a natural spin turn, for example, okay? You might do your basic in the quick step, and you find that your legs are maybe too stiff, I don't know, or you're using your muscles the wrong way. So like I said, it's not just there. Now, I know some people have so much tension the whole time they're dancing, they look like rigor mortis, man. They're just like, ah! And I'm like, oh my God, how does your partner, well, your partner doesn't cope with it, they just don't tell you, but they just get cranky, you know what I mean? Okay, so let's look at this. What creates tension? Now, in my estimation, there's only a few things that create tension, and this is the good news about knowing your stuff. So one of the first things is poor balance. Please write some notes on this if you can. Poor balance is responsible for more dance deaths than anything else, right? You don't want poor balance. We know this, right? We know, yeah, balance, that goddamn thing again. But that doesn't disappear. Balance is one of the key things. Now, what creates poor balance? Okay, this is the thing to know. It's important, right? So bad footwork, bad technique, bad posture, lack of knowing your routines. So like what comes next in the timing. So let's just summarize it to that. Now, so if we're looking at that as a confluence with balance, for example, then you got to think, well, how am I going to get better balance again? So we have to think about postural principles and feet. And if we keep it very simple, when we look at balance and movement, if our feet are working properly, so heels and toes in ballroom, for example, ball heel or the use of the foot in Latin, and then we think about our postural position, which remember with posture, by the way, this is going to be a long answer, just so you know. With posture, okay, posture is not one-dimensional. It's 3D. We have our pelvis, okay, where I always say that's the base of our posture. That's the most important. We have our rib cage, our head, our chin, and our eyes, right? So obviously our ears as well for the internal. So our balance is like auditory and visual, right? So it's the eyes and ears, inner ear. All of that is responsible for like an equilibrium for our balance. But our postural system, our actual body itself, the center is the key. So just here, where the belly button sort of is, right? This is what we want to make sure we can get onto the foot with good control. So foot to foot, we want to be able to move our center there. Now, if you look at dancing, it's a fancy way of putting our center into different positions, right? Crossing behind, right? Lunging, oversways, things like that. Now, if we collapse our pelvis, for example, here, what happens when you move? You have tension, right? So if my ass goes out, duck butt, looking good, right? Ass is out, and then I go to move. Immediately, I can feel, if you put your arms up and you drop, you can start to feel your arms grip, your shoulders grip, okay? So do it, get the best alignment in your pelvis you can, put your arms up, and then start like push out with your butt as much as you can. You start to notice your shoulders tighten, that's tension. What created that? Poor posture, you understand? Because posture is not just you standing up and stretching. So this is what people forget. When I say in class, stand up, do you know what people do? The first thing, you would have done this because I did. You stretch your ribs up. Now my posture is bad because I'm actually throwing my weight back, you see? So stretching up is only one part of posture. That's this part. You stretch this part, not your actual chest, yeah? So anyways, so we've got the pelvis, we've got the core pushing the belly button to the spine. This is what creates a better lower postural position. The head sits on top of the pelvis in a line. And again, if we put the chin forward, now I probably reckon because you're a bit of an older gentleman, I think things like this, rounded shoulders, head forward, is going to be your problem, right? As well as the pelvis being in a weird spot. Now I know it's a lot to think about, but I'm trying to give you some broader ideas here. But if you've got a bad postural position, then you go to move, and you go off balance because of that bad posture, what happens? Your muscles grip, don't they? So that's what creates the tension. So you might have this bad posture and you immediately go onto your toes, and because you can't balance, you start gripping, don't you? Now, here's the other thing too. If your partner does the same thing, they can sort of push you off balance, right? Then you grip, and then we can't let go. So awareness is key because you can actually have the tension and let go, right? Okay, so step one is understanding better posture is always the goal of anyone who is doing movement. So if you're playing sport, if you're running as an Olympic athlete, if you're running as a weekend jogger, you actually really want to have good posture to minimize injury and maximize movement with the lowest amount of energy. So if you were to say like what makes good dancing, it's actually using your body in the most efficient way to produce the most movement with the least amount of effort, and effort being the expenditure of energy in the muscles. Okay, so we ain't done. Come with me down the rabbit hole, my friends. Did I say get a strong drink before this lesson? I did not, did I? Just get a coffee. So, okay, we understand that good posture, good foot control is going to be like the foundation to good balance, right? Okay. Obviously, make sure you know your routine and make sure you have a partner that doesn't throw you off. Just kidding. Can't do much about that. Now, if we look at your actual physicality, what tension... Now, tension's not always bad, by the way. So I'm just going to have a side note here. There are moments where you might need, like I said to Peter, with his hand in the backward basic swivel thing, he needs to arrest the lady's arm. So there's actually an increase in the arm. Now, here's the word, tone. So tone is different to tension. So you have to learn how to separate that. So let's do a little exercise and get to know your body a little bit. I want you to flex your muscles. Boom. Your arm, clench your fist as hard as you can right now. Just squeeze it, white knuckle it, yeah? That's tension, yeah? All right, let it go. Completely relax your arms so they're drooping, all right? That's relaxation. Now, lift your arms up by your elbows, so they're just gonna like hang out to the side. All right, to do that, that to me is tone. So you have this tone in your arms now. Now flex your muscles in your arms, like clench them, that's tension. So your muscles are gripping, do you understand? We don't want to use tension to move, okay? So the production of that tension was your muscles gripping, and often that is caused by what? Bad balance, falling off balance, not knowing your routine, bad technique, okay? So then you grip. So we're trying to remove that, do you understand? What we don't want to remove though is tone. So what often happens, Kevin and everyone else, and this is very cool for you to know, a lot of people think, fine, I'm going to relax. And it's a good word, but remember what relaxing felt like? Your arms are drooping like a saggy, sad old man. Don't do that, okay? Be a happy man, right? Because like if you relax your arms, you know what they do? They droop, don't they? So now you've got a poor structure. So if we look at the body, we have a skeleton with muscles, joints, of course, ligaments, tendons, and muscle fibers and all that sort of thing. And it all connects together in a fabulous system that keeps you upright. So again, when you tilt your pelvis, you are using that system in a way that collapses the body. And then you can train that in, by the way. You can train bad posture, and then you constantly have bad posture, right? You actually can train it. Put it this way, if you're not falling on the floor, your body is doing something to balance, to keep you up. And then falling off balance is when you tilt over. Anyway, the point being is that your body, looking at the skeletal system, you're trying to keep in a good alignment, right? You want to keep that in a good alignment, and you need to feel that in your body. Now, what happens when you get good alignment in your body is you produce a very natural tone. So I want you to try to feel this in your actual pelvis right now. You could be sitting down at work, you can still do this, but I want you to tilt your butt out, all right? I want you to tilt your butt out, so back I should say, and then go right under and flex it forward. Then go back again, back and then forward, back and then forward, back and then forward, right? And you're gonna start to feel like, oh, okay, that's a bit hard. Then I want you to run on the spot for me. This is it, just run on the spot with the knees up and forward, so don't flick the feet back, up and forward, done. What you should find is your hips are in the most natural position that they can be. Now, if your butt's still going out, you might have something you should get a physio to help you with, but you should feel here, if you do that, a very natural tone in your inner core. Do you feel that? If not, run the exercise again. Back, forward, run on the spot, done. And you'll notice the tone, right? That is the thing that we want to keep when we dance. And again, we can lose that if we fall off balance, right? Or we make a mistake in our choreography. And so for those reasons I listed. And then you might feel that your butt's gone out. Oh, bring it under. So this is why awareness is the key, because I know as a dancer myself, I went through this phase of having bad posture for a long time, still working on posture all the time. You never stop doing that. But I would notice I'd go onto my toes, and then I might have my butt out, and then I can actually all of a sudden start correcting it, and I can feel that natural tone. As I'm doing this right now, I can feel it in here, and I'm like, oh, that's good. And then my balance is perfect. It's on point all the time. Why? Because I could self-correct. So to remove, and by the way, I blame you for asking this question. It's a great question, but there's, it's very in-depth because it is about understanding your body, but you can self-correct as you go along. Now, if we think about that, so we've got awareness of the body, creating good postural principles, having good balance, right? That's sort of where we're at. Some physical things you can do to help your body. You can stretch more. That's important. So lengthening your muscles helps to reduce tension as a dancer. So, you can do a stretching regime every day, even if you're not dancing, okay? Especially as you get older, very important because your muscles shrink and they atrophy. So you're sort of fighting atrophy as you get older, by the way, which is your muscles deteriorating, disintegrating. You really want to work on that. So definitely lift weights. That's important to strengthen the muscles. Roll your muscles. So having like a foam or a tennis ball thing to actually roll, especially areas that are the most tension for you. So if your shoulders are, then you're going to want to work on getting the knots out. That's because they're good knots, again, like the myofibrils, which are like the muscles. And they're basically, because muscles, when they contract, they do this, right? They lock. And then knots are basically that lock And then a chemical chain reaction happens to unlock muscles. So when you flex and then let go, there's like two reactions that happen to do that. And a knot is basically just staying locked like this the whole time. So you want to get rid of that because it's going to affect the rest, isn't it? So rolling your muscles, lengthening your muscles, and strengthening your muscles. So actually things outside of dancing to help your body be in peak condition. This is just a great strategy for life overall. As I get older, I notice I have to keep like hitting the gym, doing those things to feel good. Dancing is like great for anti-aging, by the way. Okay, now I didn't address one other thing, which is breathing. So breathing is very difficult to understand as you dance, but it can be a way of helping with reducing tension. So if you're moving, and so we're not trying to, there is information out there that'll teach you or tell you how to breathe when you dance, but you have to be extremely accomplished to do that because you're trying to phrase almost the way you breathe with your dancing, and don't even bother, right? But what you can do is notice if you have tension, is you might have gone up and like inhaled up into your chest, and that creates tension, right? And then relaxing can bring it down. So I would say that at your highest point on your toes, try to notice if you can exhale a little bit and then keep your structure in your arms, for example. And in Latin, the same thing. You want to feel that if you do rumba, you can almost exhale when you go forward into a movement. But you can't keep that up because you'll hyperventilate and like pass out. So there might be moments where that might help you just to breathe. You might say, Vaughan, why didn't you just start by saying, like, why don't you just breathe better? It's like, because you have to understand your body. You have to understand the structure, the house of your body, and what contributes to the factor of creating tension. And you ask any dance teacher, there's going to be probably different answers, but it will still come around the basic ideas of poor balance, which to me is almost number one, which is then related to your postural principles, which for every dancer is a constant fight. Poor technique, so bad use of your feet, bad use of the timing, bad use of all the stuff we talk about in Dance at Home with the step. And it sounds like a lot, but it actually isn't. The main thing I need you to be acutely aware of this month particularly is trying to get your pelvis into the proper position and keeping your head on top of it. If you can really understand how to do that in all your movements, you are going to notice a difference in the tension. Now remember, we're trying to create tone versus tension. Now one more thing I want to talk about tone, and you can tell I really enjoy this subject, right? Because it's a great thing. I notice people really start to get this and their dancing improves when they can understand that tone is a scale. So if you think of degrees, up from 0 degrees to 100 degrees. So 0 degrees to me is like you're dead. 1 to 10 is like you're relaxed, okay? 10 to 99 is the degrees and the temperature of tone. So if you start to get up to like 100, you're full tension, you understand? So the sweet spot is somewhere between that, like 20 to 80 degrees, meaning that space there being the least amount of tone to the most amount of tone. And like I was saying in the example for the back swivel for Peter, when he turns and arrests the lady, because there are moments where the lady, by the way, Thara, if you're still listening, when you come back at the end of the back basic swivel, you actually need to be leaning well forward towards his hand. And you always do that, ladies, on a hip twist. You actually lean really forward almost towards the man's arm. And you're gonna feel the hands create a lot of tone together. And that's where you're getting up to that 70 to 80%, your maximum tone. And beyond that gets tension. And tension is now kicking in when your muscles grip and you're grabbing each other's hands rather than leaning your body weight. Do you understand? So that tension's bad because then it stifles movement. You're starting to see the idea here. So tone is good because tone like expands and contracts. It breathes, and that's actually very noticeable when you dance, right? So last thing is know your shit. Literally, everything I just said, you're gonna have to listen to a few times because there's a lot of information in there. But this month, pelvis, head, and creating good balance in your movements, particularly when you're on your toes in ballroom, and in Latin, transferring weight foot to foot. One more thing. When you dance Latin, everyone, and I do this all the time, so if I'm not going to say forgive me if I'm repeating myself, because my job is to repeat myself until you get it. So when you do a step, let's say cha-cha, you do a chassé, yeah? When you finish that chassé, guys, and this is Kevin, everyone, take the foot that has no weight on it, called the free moving foot, off the floor, and notice my body, how it just shifted Guess what? That was me not completing my step, which means I'm not going to have the right amount of balance. So here I now have the correct balance. To do one leg, I have to make sure my hips are in the right spot, my weight is over the leg correctly. And so what you can do is actually just stop, lift the leg up, go back, lift the leg up. You're going to start to train yourself to have much better balance. When that happens, Kevin, your tension goes away. And now you're left with nice body tone, okay? I'll leave it there and I'll see how you go with that. Now, there's another question here. In the ballroom dances, why is there so much sway with the upper body, particularly so it doesn't appear rigid? Okay, let me ask you, what is sway, people? See, look, the cup's gone. It must be cold. So what is sway, everyone? Is that really cool thing ballroom dancers do? Yeah. Or that like just an attitude, according to, is it Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin with that sway song? So sway, in the nerdy technical definition, is the inclination of the body away from the moving foot towards the inside of the turn. My brain like wanted to depart my head when I first read that. I was like, yeah, this is like quintessential old school British, isn't it? So this is what that means. If you do a natural turn in the waltz, 1, 2, that's my moving foot, and that is my sway. Inside of the turn, away from the moving foot. I'll exaggerate it, so I'm swaying into the turn, right? Into the turn. Do you understand? So it's sort of like a plane turning. That's the standard sway, and then what it's for is more important. It is actually for balance, right? You sway, because if you don't do that from your fall, because we fall to move in ballroom dancing, we don't step. And then when you rise, you need to balance that acceleration, okay? So we go forward on 1, and then there's a balance through the sway to close the feet, and then you can lower and go into the next bit. And if you're really stepping well and you don't sway, what happens when you close? You do that. And we've all done that, right? We've all fallen out. That's because there was no sway. Now, here's the thing that's very important to note. With sway, we don't want to manufacture it. So when you say, why is there so much sway? If you're watching high-level competition dancing, and listen, I asked the same question to my coach, Anne Gleave, when I first moved to England. I was like, how do we create that shape? What do we do? She goes, well, when we look at the sway plane, so again, like I said, the body's in 3D. We have a horizontal plane of movement here. We have a frontal plane, so we walk forward and back, okay? And we have a turning plane here. Those 3 axes there's a center for our movement, right? Anyways, so with those planes of movement, the sway plane is that horizontal plane there. And she's like, yeah, don't even bother with that, because what will happen is if you will mess your dancing up. If you do your swing plane, so like your turn plane properly, and your frontal plane, so moving forward and backward first, if you can understand how to move forward and backward properly with good posture, good footwork, good technique, what? And then you can learn how to create the proper turn as you do that, your swing will naturally produce a sway. And I'm like, boom, mic drop. I was like, I have no idea what you just talked about at all. No fucking clue. All that words sound great. You sound so smart. I don't know what any of that means. And thus begun the journey, right? Because then I was like, I spent like a good year and a half really repeating that information with her in lessons, understanding it. Now, in Ballroom Mastery Access, I start to talk about those planes of movement, right? Okay. And again, it can feel very heady and technical, but the thing with sway is we don't try to actually manufacture it. Like you do it at a very, very high level, but she even said to me, look, you're already at a high level, but don't worry about trying to do it. We'll do it later. We've got to get the other things working first. I was like, that makes a lot of sense, and it's very relieving to know. Because you, social dancing, you don't need to produce that. But if you're not doing it, it actually means that your feet probably aren't dancing correctly in terms of heels and toes, not going up enough. And you're also not using CBM enough, right? You might be not turning your body enough, okay? And an analogy, I'm gonna help you understand this, okay? This is really great for you to know. There's only 2 ways to dance ballroom dancing. There are 2 ways to dance ballroom dancing, and I want you to tell me what they are. Very hard because like I'm talking to a camera here that's just staring at me, right? The 2 ways are you can step And the other way is you can swing. So when you look at a beginner ballroom dancer, they'll do this. They'll go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So they're stepping the movements. Now they can still do the correct footwork and be on time, have the correct alignments, yeah, and the amount of turn. Isn't that crazy? So you can have all the technique working. This is why it's good for you, Dave, with the video you sent me, because hear what I'm saying. You can have all the technical bits starting to work, and it's like, but it's not quite right yet. Why? Because what is missing is the swinging action. And like, watch the difference, right? So again, stepping versus swinging. So I do the same steps, I don't have to move more, but if I get my body to swing forward and backward, and use CBM, 1, 2, 1, 2. I'm gonna start to actually create that look of the actual waltz movement, right? And you can see there's a bit of sway coming in, okay? Isn't that interesting? So stepping and swinging are the two ways we can dance. And when you're learning to dance, you fluctuate between the two. So I'll often go behind a student and grab them, right? I'll hold their hips and say, step backwards for me, and I'll pull them, and they'll go like, holy shit. I was doing this last night with some people who just started learning the waltz, and they were like floored. They were like, I'm moving so quickly. It's like, no, you're swinging, which is accelerating your the same movement, but now the lady can turn around you. So yeah, I guess you are moving quicker, but that's not what we're trying to do. It's still a slow waltz. The analogy for this that's really good to know is stepping versus swinging, is thinking of riding a bike, right? When you ride a bike, if you go slowly to turn a corner, how does it turn? Picture it. So when you're on a bike and you're just spinning around, you're like in France with a baguette and you're like, hey, hey, and you got a little cigarette and you got a wine and drink and ride is what they do probably, okay? When you turn, you literally just do that with the handlebars, right? But the body is upright and you just go, you turn around the corner, that's it. So that's if you're going slow. Try doing that at 50 kilometers an hour. How do you have to turn at 50 kilometers an hour? What does your body do? It swings, doesn't it? Watch a motocross GP, 200, 300 kilometers an hour around a corner. They're leaning on their knee around a corner. It's when they go vertical coming out, they shoot off the bike. Why? That's swing. That's actually the acceleration. And that's what we do in ballroom dancing. So the swinging idea, you'll notice that, in other words, to turn the corner fast, your body like swings and sways into the corner, yeah? A plane does not just turn like that, it swings and sways. So when you look at ballroom dancing, a natural turn, if you're swinging properly into the first step and you rise properly, your body actually creates that sway. Just try it, step forward, don't try and tilt your body, but feel that when you come up from going sideways properly, because this is a sideways step, yeah? And so you'll feel your body wanting to go like that, okay, if you step properly on the first step. So stepping versus swinging. So the swaying idea can take care of itself, you understand? So work on that, see how you go. It's when you start to try to do it, this is where you, your body starts to do weird shit. And then you're gonna get more tension, do you understand? Because you'll start to go, I need to like dip. And oh my God, I gotta tell you this. When I first I did a group class years ago. This is how you learn, guys, by the way, is you make mistakes, right? Mistakes are your friend. This is part of, I suppose, the positive versus negative thinking thing. Mistakes are your friend because this is the best learning tip. And I remember teaching a class and I was like, I'm so bored teaching the same shit all the time. There's a reason you have to teach the same stuff. It's because people are at a certain level, aren't they, when they first begin? And I was like, yeah, but I was getting bored. So let me try teaching some sway. Oh my God, I quit. I lost the class. It's so vivid how badly people dance. And I was like, wow, the wrong information really can ruin people's experience. And so we did the normal steps. Then I started saying, okay, when you go to the side, incline your body like a tray of champagne and you're spilling all of it, right? So like go to the side and tilt. My God, people were dancing well with just the stepping thing. Then they started absolutely, I could see on their faces, they were getting really frustrated with me because they were like, I don't get it anymore. I can't dance. And they couldn't dance with their partner. And it's like, this is like 30 people, right? I just lost the class. I'm like, damn, man, like that sway thing, that is really hard. Because why? Now they're focusing on trying to tilt their body, right? And create an artificial position. So not only do they not have posture and all that stuff going on, but they're now collapsing, right? And they're not being able to close their feet. And then they're stuck because they can't straighten up. So now, that won't be you guys. The majority of you can actually think a little bit about sway, but it's when you start to develop it or do more with it, that's when you're gonna notice the problems kick in again, and they're not the right sort of problems. Okay, as a last little thing with sway is to understand is that there are 4 groups of sway. So the one we talked about is actually like the general sway, the balancing of a turn in, you sway into the turn, then you straighten up. So I have to mention this because Penny used to tell me a lot. She goes, Vaughan, you step, swing, sway. This comes from Alex Moore. And again, she didn't get me to focus on it, but she did make me do sway when I was learning, but she didn't like develop it, right? So what she would do is say you step and swing, and then you sway. Now the thing is, when you finish, when you lower, you have to straighten the body up. This is important, so you don't keep it there and then step back. So you always straighten when the heel lowers. Then you take the next step, and you'll notice my body, if I do a natural turn, my body will remain straight on that first step, but I will use CBM. But then the sway will happen on the second and third step, and then I'll straighten up as I lower. So sway is actually very measured in the technique book, right? If you look at it, there's a column, there's a little thing there, it says straight, left, left, straight, right, right. That straightening business is when you lower your feet and close, and then you step into the next step. So all your turns, with the first step going forward and backward, your turn plane is to be very straight. Then it goes into a sway, and then it straightens up again, all right? And that's what you're sort of noticing. Okay, so that's your general sway. The other type is cosmetic sway. So cosmetic sway is like when you see a big shape in like an oversway. So when you see like a lady or a man do a movement like a throw over sway, and you start to see, there's your horizontal plane. So you start to see that sway up and turn, right? You're creating a big shape. The reason we do that is to produce a beautiful line figure. The sway itself, does it really function to do anything in particular? Not really. Like, it just creates the nice shape, but it doesn't the function isn't like balancing a turn. Do you understand? So we call it cosmetic because we can do a lot of it, we can do a little of it, we can change the heads, things like that. So that's cosmetic. The other is linear. So linear sway. So one thing we will talk about a bit later is that there are differences between the walks in ballroom. So not all walks are the same. In waltz and foxtrot, we walk. We have a different way of using the legs that's very subtle, but it can make a big difference in the movement. So what we have to think about in foxtrot is linear sway. So we're not actually, because we're moving like forward, my sway in the feather, for example, is I'm straight, then I've got a slight sway to the right, and then I keep that on the feather. So my sway is that way. It's linear, like it's going like that. You understand? Then it straightens up, and then I go into the turn, say the reverse turn, and there's a little bit of sway there, but it's not drastic, right? Anyway, the other one was called broken sway. So broken sway is like on a tipple chassé, and it was when I made that mistake before. I showed you if you don't sway normal, general sway, if you don't do that, when you close your feet and your body tilts outward, you actually break the sway. So your body is tilting actually away from the movement. So on a tipple chassé in quick step, bum, 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 as you lower, you tilt the body out. Okay, and you do that because the knee flexes a lot, and then bum, bum, bum. You might do it that way as well, and off you go. Or tipsy. You don't really use it many other times. So it's a little bit more manufactured, but it feels good. Okay. I hope you understand what I mean. You must see a lot with beginner dancers. Any tips? Welcome. Okay, cool. Now, that was a massive question. I really appreciate that. That is a good question. And again, you guys are going to have to listen to that a few times, all right? That is not easy information to digest. And I always try to hit you with, you never know if tomorrow is promised, right? My thoughts with this content is it's going to last a long time, and I'm going to make sure I try to hit all the points so you can recap this in the future. And if you never spoke to me again, there's all this information on a particular thing for you to reference. It's not just like one thing. I'm going to go through that, and you know that's how I roll with my information and teaching. Okay. I can't. By the way, I don't do that with people in real life because then I just end up on a monologue. Okay, with students. So I'll give them a touch of like what to do, but it's more about them training their body when I teach them. So if you are a teacher, it is not about you demonstrating how smart you are, okay? When I'm online, I have to frame it out in a step-by-step manner, and I'll explain it, I'll teach it, I'll give examples, because that's the framework of teaching online, because people can go back to it, right? But yeah, you can't do that with people in real life because they get bored, and it just becomes a show about you than them. All right, now we're going to get into the video. Let's get into this one. Let's go. David. Ooh, what's up? Look at that smile. Look at that. Look, now I'm gonna stop that. Look at this guy smile. That's, dude, already loving it. You're lightening up more. Very good, okay? All right, anyway, so let's get into it. So, very cool. Month to month, there is definitely small improvements happening, which will add up over time. Now, I'd like to talk about mainly, what did I write here? Yeah, so you got a really, like a much smoother motion happening, and you can see that you're actually very light in your dancing, which is great. And I always love that you guys, everyone, like sending videos to me, things like that. Now, I know you sent me a second video, but I didn't have time this morning to get that there, but don't worry. The majority of the mistakes or the things to do will still be prevalent, so don't stress too much. Okay, now, okay. You're actually holding your frame much better, which is good. 1, 2, 3, 1. Yeah, and your timing's much better as well. Okay, so what I'd like to talk about is CBM. So in previous waltzes, I've talked about the use of your feet, which I'm still going to want you to do. I still want you to try to go a little higher onto your toes, if it's possible. So heel toes. So like they're on the tip of the chasse, go higher onto the toes in the middle of that chasse, sort of be at a peak. Now, the use of the body. So CBM, ladies and gentlemen, is a contra body movement. Now, this thing gets, I don't know why they named it like that. Like, I swear they want to confuse people, right? But contra body movement, contra means opposite body movement. It is literally just the way you initiate a turn. So when you go forward and backward, when you walk, and again, you have to have heard this before from someone, if not me, definitely a coach, right? But when you walk and you want to turn, what does your body do, right? My left side is going to my right foot to create this turn. Try it. Walk the other way. Right side towards your left foot and increase that, and you'll notice your turn is tighter. That's what CBM is. It's the opposite side to that foot. When you do a waltz, let's say double reverse spin, okay? So as you take that first step forward, I think you have one of those, or if not a telemark, same entry, it's a heel turn. But that very first step, a lot of the times so your footwork's better, right? Heels and toes, but your body is actually weaker in certain parts. So what that means is you're stepping forward and then it's like, oh yeah, I should turn around my lady and then come out, right? What you want to feel is CBM, when does it happen? So the question for you, Dave, and everyone else, when do you actually do CBM? Okay, so a common mistake is so if you look at my body, I'll go forward, then I'll decide to turn. So the word simultaneous is very, very important. So as I go forward on the left foot, I'm actually rotating in that right leg. So just try this for me. Stand on your, so what we're going to do as an example is a telemark, okay? So this is for the man, right? So you're going to go forward on the left foot. Now lift that left foot up first and rotate in that right leg. I want you to notice how much turn is actually happening in this right leg as you do this. Why is that important? Because that is actually the initiation of CBM. So before I've even stepped, I'm lowering, but I'm also rotating. And you see my right side is turning, yeah? Not my head, just my body. Now, as I step forward, you can see the body's continuing that turn. Then it's so easy to step around the lady to brush and then come out. Now, I did it very slow, so I didn't do any swing there really, but that's CBM, not swing. CBM is the use of the body like that. Now, if I go forward on my left foot again, and I'll rotate and I do it properly, when I drive forwards with strength, now I'm going to come back to 2 videos I've already critiqued you on. Remember when I said a video on beat 1 is your accent and has to be strong? That needs to happen. Strong movement. Then the second thing I said was use heels and toes better, which relates to that first step being strong. So in this telemark, I want to step on 1, then come up on 2 and come out on 3. Notice the strength. Why? Because not only did I drive forward strongly, but I had good CBM on that first step, which allowed me to then come up and then come out. Do you see that? This is why you got to go on the toes as well, because then you can actually rise up and then come back down. Do you notice the difference, right? Now, don't blame your lady for this. You can still do this and she'll actually, you're not going to knock her off balance because you should never feel like you're pushing into your lady. Even if you take the step a bit smaller, you still do the same thing. So when I dance with ladies of different degrees of skill, I still do this. I just might have to really back off if they don't know what they're doing, or increase it if they know what they're doing. Okay, does that make sense? So we're driving, good heel turn, sorry, good footwork, but the body, this swing of the body, the CBM, right? The CBM is the key. Now, if you are doing, I need to bring this to another tangent here. So for those who, if this is the first time you've heard this information, when you use CBM, it's to initiate every turn. So basically in the waltz, every step 1 of your routine will have CBM on it. Now here's the next problem. How much of that rotation, that strength, that turn do you do? And this is where I always think about coffee, right? Decaf coffee, 1 shot espresso, or like a latte, we'll go latte. So decaf latte, double shot espresso. Oh yeah, right? So that's strong, isn't it? Yeah, no milk, no sugar, nothing. Just black bitterness to lighten your life up in like a 30 ml shot, right? Or 50 ml. So here's the thing. With the decaf CBM, right, the lowest amount, you'll do that on steps like a whisk, right? So there's a little bit of CBM and then you take your side step and cross. That's your decaf. On your natural turn, for example, that'll be your normal amount, your latte. So you'll be going CBM on 1, then 2, 3 just happens. CBM on 4, then CBM just happens. So it's your normal amount. When you do something like a double reverse spin or the actual pivot of a spin turn, double shot, baby. That's the difference, right? Now, what does that mean? And this is where it's very difficult because it doesn't matter to me that you've heard this before. What matters to me is I see you get it in your body when you dance. This is all that matters. So even if you've heard this before, don't think you know it until your body can do it. And then here's why your body is not doing it. A lot of the times you'll step back. Let's use the stronger CBM examples, the spin turn, so the actual pivot. You'll notice that you'll do this. You'll step back on your left foot, maybe out here, okay? But your body will turn now, late. So what has to happen simultaneously? So it's actually so again, get on that right leg and I want you to like rotate in that knee a little bit. So you'll notice that you're turning in that foot. Now that is the beginning of your CBM. Let your arm rotate with it a little bit. Just go, not your head, just your arm and body like that. Now, what you'll do is as you pivot, you're going to turn at the same time. So all of it lines up, CBM and the pivot like that. What is the problem you're going to be making? You will be lowering, stepping, and then trying to turn the body. That's exactly the issue with understanding how to do turns properly in ballroom dancing. It's not just you, it is literally the majority of people, right? When they learn to dance for several years, right? Okay, so when you do like a double reverse spin, because this is a forward example, you're rotating into the leg and going forward, you're going to notice that energy pick up 1. So you have that very strong movement, 1, then 2 and 3 to balance. So there's your double shot latte, right? Your telemark is probably like a latte level, right? Double shot espresso, right, is the strongest one. So the point being with that example is to know that there are 3 options with your CBM, and every step is going to have a bit more or less of it. Do you understand? And then your lady will be able to actually respond to that, because ladies, your job, I know I sound like I speak to the men a lot, but a lot of men submit questions that are important. The ladies need to know how to respond to the amount you give them, but they cannot initiate it. Okay, you initiate the amount, they respond to the amount. Yeah. Okay, so I want you to take that with what you will, go into the studio. Don't worry about like educate. I don't know. I'm not saying you do this, but don't worry about trying to like necessarily educate your partner. Like don't necessarily coach her about it. Do these things in your body and try to notice if she can follow and start to experience um, the stronger qualities of movement, right? So an example I'd give is like if I came and danced with her, did the same routine, I would be like working that stronger on those big ones, better CBM, right? And she would see that as a difference, probably like, whoa, what are you doing? Or be a little bit like, okay, that's interesting. I'll now try a bit more, because she's trying to respond, right? And that's key. So don't get in the trap of trying to like educate her as much as I'm going into this with you, but she can definitely watch this. Might be a good idea. Okay, let's get into the rumba. I'll need to finish up in a few minutes. I'm so excited though. This is great. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everyone. Oh, she watched the replay. That's great. Oh, what's her name? Let me know what her name is. I want to say hello. It's awesome that she's watching the replay. And again, it's important for her to understand that the lady needs to know how all this CBM business works, rise and fall, footwork, heels and toes, because she could be a little stronger on the heels and toes side of things. But the lady can't initiate any of that, right? So she's the one that has to respond to that. Following is a skill, and it's not about the lady being passive and a heavy potato sack and hanging on your arms, just make me dance. No, lady is very much alive, very active as she moves. So Charlotte, thank you. Charlotte will respond to all of these things. And she has a very nice presence, by the way. She has a nice light face. You guys are looking much better. I want to see what I talked about in action. Okay, that's the key for me, because you guys are smart. I know you can understand what I'm saying conceptually. It's getting the goddamn body to do it, right? That's everyone's problem. It's my problem too, right? We've got to get the body to do it. Okay, so here we go to let's go, Elizabeth and Graham. Oh yeah. Graham, I feel like I can be like this with you. We've never actually met, but we would have like good banter, I reckon. You guys in our lessons. Would it kill you to look at her? Just saying. Okay, so it's not just you. If you look at that floor, it's not going to be hard for you all to stand out. All right, so don't stress. It's not an age thing or anything of that nature. I do understand that there are different limitations and all that sort of thing with the body and at certain levels, etc. But I've seen what's possible for some of these seniors 1 and 2 categories, right? But okay, so in competition perspective, like technique, like footwork and things, like you can win comps and have like pretty bad technique in your feet. Okay, I didn't say that, but it's true. It's really true. Why? Because the performance aspect, the body positions, the movement of the body, is what the dance should be. Okay, so let's look at that as a brief example. And this is an important distinction I want to make for you all. If I just go back here, please. Where's my little mouse? So here's an important distinction I'd like to make for you. So when we're looking at competition dancing, so a stunning amount, basically all my content is geared around like foundationals, right? So like using your feet properly, using your legs properly, understanding how to move your body related to the figure. So Dance at Home has like the figures for the step, Alamanas, underarm turns, all of those sort of spot turns, New Yorkers, okay? How to get your body in the right position, that sort of thing. That doesn't win a comp. It took me a long time to understand that because I thought technical prowess would like reign supreme because then you could dance better. Turns out no, you can get too stuck on technique and then you don't have any mechanics. So mechanics is literally how your body works, right? And how it works with the technique. So then with the mechanics, so technique, mechanics, you have expression. And with expression comes artistry. Now, we're not worried about artistry. Artistry is literally like, that's what you would expect at a professional level. And maybe at the top of amateur. But before that, you're only really working with technique and mechanics, okay? Now, the mechanics are what I want you to really understand a little bit more about. So when you look at, and again, if you don't have Ballroom Mastery Academy, or definitely Ballroom Mastery Academy Next Level, you need to get into those programs at some point. And that's for anyone who's interested in what I'm talking about, right? Because, why? You can get too in your head about having good feet, and even then your feet may be average. So let's just say right now your feet are average, okay? That you're not like everybody has the same level of shit dancing legs, okay? So let's just say it like that, okay? It sounds brutal, but let's just say that's it. It's literally, no one is standing out like, wow, look at that person's strength in their leg. Oh my God, their legs are so good, right? Because that's not gonna win you the comp. But what can win you the comp and what can help you both is your upper body. So let's look at that real quick. And I'm not saying your shit, remember, just your technique. Okay, so listen. So you must improve that. I'm not going to say ignore technique at all. Understand how to dance your New Yorkers better. So for example, you're not actually like getting on your leg completely, both of you. You're not settling correctly and then moving back. So you can work on those sorts of things. But if you do that, like with just like the most bland expression and your arms not really doing a lot or finishing the movement or your body working, you're not going to stand out, right? So, because again, that's not going to win you the comp. So let's look at the mechanics of rumba real quick. What is the type of dance you're doing? Where is it from? Cuba. It is a Cuban dance. What is Cuban action? What is Cuban action? If you can't answer that, that's what's missing. And this is how you separate yourself. Cuban action is a rotational movement through the hips, right? So you soften the knees. So really like play with this, right? So soften your knees, right? And then get the hips to go back and forth like that. So this action here, boom, very, very street Latin, salsa, merengue, right? Cha-cha, rumba, bachata, right? You want to create like those sorts of act. You see my hips actually working in a figure of eight. That's what's one of the big things that's missing, not just for everyone on the floor. That's how you're going to separate yourself. Understand, get your hips and your body to actually start showing the character of the dance. Now, I know it sounds obvious, but that's what's missing, right? Now, your upper body, so for example, now connection to your partner, looking at her, will provide a better partnership quality that, again, is missing on the floor. Most people are in their head thinking about their routine, and they're thinking about like maybe what they look like, maybe they're self-conscious. So, but for example, in fan, look towards her there. Okay, she's there, look towards her. Then when you step forward, you can look back out, then you can come back to her, looking at her, but put her in a position, looking at her, right? Then back to the audience, right? Then back to her, you see? But like it's very intentional. I would like you to start working on your hip action for sure. So I don't think I could do it in the camera view, but assume you're on a wall. So lean on a wall. And I want you to just put your weight in the middle. All right. We'll do it this way. Feet out, turned out properly. Lean on the wall. So like you would be, I can't actually do it here because you'd want pressure right on the wall. So lean against it. And then just proceed to do figure of eight. So bring the hip forward and then back. Left hip forward and then back. Not the other way, not back and forward. So forward, back, forward, back. Bend the knees a little bit when you do this, all right? Forward and back, keeping your head in the middle. Okay, so you're leaning on the wall, figure of eights. Your abs are going to cry, right, when you do this. So you got that action, boom, 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 all right? And now you want to try to feel the hip coming up a little bit and then back. Up and then back. Let the knees soften just a touch. Don't dance on bent legs, right? The knees will bend a little bit, then straighten. Bend. Why? Because the thigh is connected to the hip. So that will help your development of the rhythm or the action. So when you do things like a basic, for example, you will use that thigh and hip to settle. You'll notice the rotation there. That brings the body forward. There's your technique, all right, in that sense. And your settling action, you notice my brown belt, that's why I wore it, so you can see that it's actually changing shape, and then it will go back, right? And you'll use that hip again to go to the side. So there's always going to be a hip action, always in rumba, consistently. Now there'll be more and less depending on the step. So on a New Yorker, like it'll come through, right? You'll settle, then you'll rock back and go to the side, right? But you'll be using this hip action to do what? I'm going to ask you both. Why? What's one of the reasons we use our hips in this way as well? Like functionally, it actually moves your leg. So a way I teach people is I say, it takes you a few years to get from your feet up to your body, then you work back down. But if I thought about moving this foot, I won't do it because the timing says I should move, or my coach, or I know I need to step on two. I'll do it because my body, my hip and my thigh have settled. And what it does is it pulls my body weight forward and I have to move, right? So that hip and settling action causes your movement in rumba. Do you understand? So not only does it like look better, it works to move your foot. So here's the rule. Don't move your foot without your hip or your upper body initiating the movement. And where else do we do this? In ballroom dancing, right? So again, we don't, if you look at stepping versus swinging, in ballroom dancing, your body actually falls, right? And it falls and then you step. So you don't like step and then move. You understand? So in rumba, you're going to go back to your routine slowly and literally just take your foot. By the way, when you first start with that right foot, you're going to start on 4, transfer the weight over the 1. And then what are you going to do? Settle, and then step on 2, then settle, and then go back on 3, right? So you're not actually going to move onto that foot without your hips doing something. So you've got the hip action exercise, and then going back through the routine, start to feel your hips do this business. Now, in terms of arms, this is a big problem. Maybe send me a question on that later if you'd like, or we'll come back to it next lesson. But the arms are a big thing and very, very foundational to like competition dancing. Like if I look at you and your arms are great, especially Elizabeth, right? You're gonna like really be on the top, right? Because the arms are so hard, but if you can understand how to like use them to create gestures and feeling, boom, but you are, oh my God, you're gonna stand out, right? So let's say average feet, right? Excellent hip action, and then like super like expressive arms, great formula to work on. With Graham like being more attentive and like looking more like masculine, because he's a very masculine man, which I like. So he looks strong and manly, and then he needs to keep that and actually dance with you. And that the combination of that is really going to set you apart in a really positive way. Okay, so I know I've just given you a lot to do, but let me know what worked for you. That's important. Now let's go to one more video, and then I've got to wrap up for the week, the month, sorry, and let's roll. I really like how you've got a lot of energy. It's great, like very light. Make sure you have that expression on the floor. So just pretend you're constantly fucking up when you're competing. So then you smile a lot, right? This is a secret tip. So with your, okay, there's a few things here. Now, a video before, you may not have seen this, but it's really important to try to get your links to be a little tighter, okay? So when you go backwards, not take the step as big. There's a little few things here we'll work on, okay? Overall, they're like not bad, not bad. So listen. Oh, where am I going? Where am I going? Okay, real quick. I say real quick. I lie. Okay, so when you go back, that link has to go under there, right? Not back here, because then your weight's going to shift too much. Because you want to create more of a like put the heel down and feel the weight go up and then forward. Okay. Now the other thing is I want you to do is preceding. So at the end of a step or the beginning of a step. So let's say you do a chasse and you go finish your chasse right there, and your feet are turned out, by the way, at the end. Make sure you do that. As you do the next step, always create like a little action and a reaction in jive. So it's not here and then I go back to the side again. What I want to do is create little up motion. So I want to go up and then back two. So a one, a two. So I'll do one very flat. So good feet though. 1, 2, 3, a 4, 5, a 6. Now let's create with the reaction. And you'll hear me say up when I do this. A 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, a 1, a 2. So what you're doing is on the supporting foot, the foot you're standing on, you like get a little reaction. Now don't make it like an allergic reaction. Don't be like a 1, a 2. You can't hop around like that. But there is a feeling of out of that supporting foot, like your body going like up and in, yeah, like up, and then you move. Okay, now that's a big thing to do across most of the steps. In terms of things like the walks and swivels, I'll give you a practical thing to try on this one. So when you do the actual walks and swivels, I think this is after your mooch, right? Let's go 1, 2, so 3, 4. I'm going to take it from here, so from a promenade position. Okay, try this. When you go to actually come in, first of all, tighten the feet up and then flick the foot a little bit and then come in. So like stylizing it. So you'll see here, my knee is how tight the feet are. My knee is more across, more feminine. And then as the heel goes down, there's your swivel. Okay, then you step, small step, ball flat. So you're creating this idea of going like in and then through. Yeah, da, da, yeah. See that? Not trying to progress. So you're not trying to like step and swivel through and move massively. You actually want to tighten it up and be like in and across, that action there. Okay? That's like a little thing I just noticed straight away that'll help. I think an overall idea though is going to be that a 1, a 2 business, trying to get that little action reaction across most steps. Okay, because you actually have like nice legs for jive, which is really cool. So now you just need to learn how to create a little bit more like rhythm within that because you're fast, you've got those things going. We don't have to accentuate footwork as much as say rumba. So I'm not too concerned about that, except for like the size of the links, yeah? The, creating nice shapes, things like that. So if you do any lunges in jive, always try to go like more like into that leg. Like try to get down a little bit more so you can come up and like kick. If you do kicks across your body, get the opposite side to turn towards, right, like that. That's going to balance you. So you don't like, on a mooch, you're stuck. But any flicks you do as a dancer, right, turn the body in a little bit. That's going to actually help you to balance the turn. So if you kick with the body straight, it's very hard, right? Down and boom, 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 that feeling there, okay? Last thing about the legs. When you do, it's more about the retraction of the knee, like the actual thigh at the end of a kick. So if I kick down, I'm not trying to put all the focus on power down. I actually want the leg to be quite relaxed going down and then pull it back fast. So like a mooch is a good example. So I can go like 1, 2, 3. So you notice it was actually this backward part pulling quickly creates a very fast kick. In punching, it's the same thing. So you don't punch through, you actually want to go and retract as well. So you want to whip it in and out like that. When you kick, it's the same thing. You want to go down and up. So if I create that mooch like a 1, 2, a 3, 4, a 5, 6, like that. I did too many. A 1, 2, a 3, 4, a 5, 6, a 7, 8, and 1, a 2, a 3, 4, a 5, a 6, a 7, a 8, a 1, a 2. Right? So you see that nice flicking, bang, bang. So work on that retraction. Keep the steps small. Okay, my friends, what a day. Thank you very much. Remember at the beginning of this, is it more important to have more positive thoughts or less negative, right? And so less negative as you go through this month, put it together, as you try these new things, stretch yourself as best as you can, really work hard, send me the videos where you can, and do your very, very best to enjoy and love dancing. And remember to tell your friends about this, maybe not your competitors, right? And submit your questions and videos for next month. And this has been amazing. Please leave me your comments at the end. Thank you.